I'm just wanting to bring a little bit of awareness and attention to the moment that we are all in and kind of are united by this um, really different, challenging, terrifying situation that is touching everyone on the globe. And I'm so glad that we are here for this specific intention of connecting around NVC, which for us is a path that is very central in our lives and has been key to being more connected to ourselves, to others, to life, to the systems around us. And just noticing how in these this particular moment, this is so deeply necessary and so important. Mainly, and this comes a little bit, oh, hi, Ruti, hi, welcome. And mainly because this is just in our, since the pandemic started, we've been putting to good use the practices that we've been sharing for almost a decade now, and facilitating a lot of open groups, and also putting to practice a project that supports frontline healthcare workers with empathic support. We've created this network or group of people that have been offering free support to these professionals that are now here in Brazil. It's really peaking right now. So just knowing how empathic support and connection can help get out of the stress response, which often presents itself as fight, flee, or freeze, or there are some other possibilities, but those are maybe the most conventionally more known. And to access again our wisdom, our resources, our abilities to respond to whatever is happening around us. And we're so glad to not only be able to practice it with ourselves, but to offer that, to extend that, to support other people at this moment.
Thanks, Mo. Doesn't serve you well.
Oop, and somebody's, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Just keep yourself muted and it'll help us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People who are arriving now, if you wish to rename yourself and write down next to your name the place where you're speaking from, this also would be nice for everyone to see where everyone is from around.
Yeah, and there's a question already here in the chat that will there be breakout sessions? And yes, we will have breakout groups, but we will be focusing on at least one. If time permits, we will do 2 inner work exercises, and then we're going to debrief in small groups after that. So the title of our encounter is From Stress Response to Resilience, Transforming Inner Polarities. And we're going to talk about the title soon and connect it to what I've been sharing right now about the context. But I just want to bring an awareness that also has been key for us at this moment, is that this pandemic, although it's touching all of our lives, it's also at the same time touching lives of people in different ways. And I want to acknowledge how more vulnerable populations all over the world have been suffering impacts that are much greater than populations that have more access to resources and networks of support. And in a sense, this is something that is just making visible the systems that we live in, which are systems that are not yet geared to care for all needs, where all needs matter, which is one of the key maybe goals in the path of nonviolent communication, is to be present and be in the world and create a world together where all needs matter. And So this is something that has been also very evident here, but we've been seeing news from all over the world where that's also true. And one way that we really like to start our sessions and our work is to bring an acknowledgement for the different domination systems. This is something that Marshall used to speak about, the different domination systems that we live in. And the way that we like to do it is an acknowledgement about our land. And this, usually when we're in a room with everybody in the same room, so we're talking about the same land. But maybe as I bring this, I will be talking about the land that we are on right now, but it might be relevant to the different lands that all of you are standing on right now. And I'll ask you to just connect to the relevance locally, if there is one, and if there isn't, that's okay too. And so the acknowledgement is that Sandra and I here are on what originally was Guarani land. And this is a land which its sovereignty was not given up willingly. And so we just take a minute to honor the elders of those peoples, past, present, and future. And I'd like us all just to take a breath together just for 1 second in silence and acknowledge and honor that. And I just noticed that my body shakes a little bit every time that I do this, and my heartbeat rises a little. And I notice that there's something in my body that is almost difficult to contain just within the contour of my body, because I guess for me, I get in touch with the enormity of the context that I live in, and that not always I acknowledge or admit. I don't carry it within my awareness, and I want to do it more and more.
There's another acknowledgement that I would like to make here regarding Brazil, and there are many Brazilians here in this session, that this country where I was born was built by many peoples from different places in the world that came here, and plus the people that were here before. And so all of them are responsible for bringing up the life that I live in right now, and acknowledging that many of those peoples were brought here not willingly and enslaved. So this is also present here, and there are historical things that are still alive right now. Just acknowledging that as well. And actually, all of this is also connected to what we are doing here, to the deep democracy part. That is
just to mention that our activity today is a fusion of nonviolent communication with another path that we've been walking for many years, that is called deep democracy.
And so the deep democracy, the idea is to hear all the voices in a system. And it's based on this idea that if there are some voices that are not being heard, they will make themselves heard often, and they do that as often as with many times conflicts or violence. And we can see that in the world in many different aspects. And also we can talk about inner voices that we have inside ourselves, our inner parts of us that not all the time they agree. And there are some voices that are more mainstream and other that are more marginalized that I don't want to hear. And so I push them back. And sometimes they come up as some pain or some body symptoms or some diseases or other different things, as things that might come up, or trauma or stress, right? So what we want to do today is like an inner dive inside our this parts of us.
And one more thing about voices in the systems that I inhabit, whether they're outside of me or whether they're inside of me. The voices that I marginalize or suppress or don't want to hear or choose not to hear they don't immediately jump to an expression that is painful or explosive or violent, but there's a gradual increase in how they try to come up and be included and be heard. And so when it does reach a level of explosion or violence or pain or a symptom, that's probably been a failure of several attempts to be heard before that with much, I'd say, slighter energy. So it only reaches those high levels of energy when I haven't given any space to those voices before.
So the idea is to give space and try to hear all the voices. And this also connects to NVC, because in NVC, the idea that all the needs matter. And so we try to hear all the needs in a room or in a group. So this is all connected. And if we can hear all the voices, we can have healthier systems and healthier groups. And the system can be the society in general, a group of people, a family, or like my inner system. Yeah.
And now, just to talk a little bit about the title of our session and how does that connect to stress response. So one of the things that we've been noticing in the open groups, as I mentioned, that we've been doing in the work with healthcare workers, is how there are different ways in which that trigger the stress response, and people go into fight or flight mode. And often it's there are many ways that happens. Sometimes it just triggers some fears from the past and some interpretations that are more connected to the past, and oftentimes there are traumas in the past. But sometimes it has to do with a polarized thinking, an either or thinking, and not being able to figure out a way to care for everything that is precious to me, everything that I want to hold, everything that I want to take care of. And so my mind that's been so trained in right, wrong, good, bad, that binary, that underlying binary, even when I don't notice it, seems to surface in different ways. It's in form of separation. So sometimes it's about, it could be about a clear polarity that I can think about as an either or. Sometimes it appears in that format of suppressing a voice that I don't really want to let out, like we were talking about through the lens of deep democracy. And the reason that I don't want to hear that voice could be many reasons. I could be ashamed of allowing that voice because there's some shame in me because it doesn't meet some standards that I put to myself, or some judgments or moral values that I'm holding. And sometimes that's about the people around me that I don't want to allow that voice to manifest, because maybe in the groups that I inhabit, I don't believe that I will be able to remain in them and survive. So I suppress that voice. Sometimes I don't have even the clarity that I'm experiencing a binary situation, an either or, but I'm just experiencing it in my body as a discomfort or a tension or a gut, kind of like a gut tensioning, that I'm just trying to hold things. Sometimes it's in the lower back or the sacrum, and I'm just tensing up, trying to hold everything together. And my body is doing that for me, but I'm not clearly connected to what is it that I'm not able to hold together. And we're going to do in our exercise a little journey to kind of make it more clear to each one what is the binary or polarity that you would like to be working with, but that will be our focus.
Or a discomfort, or like it can be a physical symptom or something that is bothering you.
Yeah, and that's the element of stress response that we would like to address in our session, is when it comes up in a way where I'm just not able to integrate two parts, and I go into fight, flight, freeze. I just don't know how to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we go into?
No, maybe is everyone okay? If there's any question or things, you can write on the chat. And I can give an example. I'm feeling right now some pressure in my stomach, and I noticed that as I started, my English was not coming out as fluent as I would like to. And then there are some voices inside my head, like inner voices saying, like judging myself, that I'm not so fluent and I'm not expressing myself as well as I would like. So I'm just like, so all of this is present here. And now that I'm giving voice to it, I can feel that my stomach is actually relaxing, and I'm feeling more calm. Yeah, I think all of that, the tension that was there was wanting to be accepted and feeling belonging and to be seen. Someone is saying that.
Some appreciation for
my
Sandra's
English. You think it's fluent? Yeah, thank you. I'm much more fluent in Portuguese. So that's the
there's one. Yeah. I'm thinking now. There's one more detail that I want to bring about what we were talking about when I marginalize a voice within me, when I stick with the mainstream and marginalize that voice. And that doesn't matter if it's within me or within a system that I inhabit. So it's a voice in the social system that I inhabit, and I'm not hearing that voice, or I'm pushing it away, or I'm suppressing it, or choosing not to hear it. Is that within deep democracy, there is a shift in understanding the importance of that voice. Sometimes that voice is a dissident voice. It's the only no in the room. Everybody is the yes, and then there's the one no. And the tendency for people in that situation is to respond with annoyance to that no. I don't know if you can connect to situations like that in your experience, but there's often an annoyance, kind of like, oh, just go away, just don't. Why don't you just go along with everybody so we can have more ease? And oftentimes, if I push that voice out of the group, what happens is a very interesting group dynamic, that somebody else picks up that same voice. And like that's
a role, right?
It's a role in the system. And that's because something was coming through that voice that in deep democracy they call the wisdom of the minority. It's that piece that element or that part of the system were able to catch because of their experience, often because their experience is different from everybody else's, and their filters and perception is different. So they're noticing something for everyone else that the rest of the group is unable to notice. And so there is a flip in that understanding of really valuing that no, of coming to that no with curiosity and an invitation to include, okay, so, oh, that's so interesting. What is it that we left out? What is it that we missed that no caught? And then the system can be more complete. And in NVC, that also lives in trying to hear the yes behind the no. There's something that is overlapping in those two approaches of more of a systemic dimension, of understanding that resistance probably is containing something that was left out that can make the system more whole and more integrated. So I wanted to bring that piece as well, as we're going to be working with different parts of us and voices or roles internally. Maybe that will also make sense in how that influences your experience of the exercise.
And we want to now try like to do an inner exercise, right?
Yeah.
So someone wrote something. What
Yeah.
if this no suggests a completely different decision than all the others? So yeah, that's when the play starts, the fun starts. That's how can we hear the wisdom behind that no and integrate it and make together make agreements that can meet everyone's needs or every voice's needs.
And
something like that. So this is the fun part. So we want to try it and practice it instead of just keep speaking.
Yeah, and
Right?
also I just want to say that it's, as we were saying it might sound simple, and it is simple, but it's not easy, because often it involves stepping away from familiarity, from the strategies that I want or the strategies that I'm used to, or again, familiar with and safe with, into a more abstract, a little more, or sometimes even totally abstract realm of understanding, which we can see in NVC as being connecting around needs that are more abstract, and then coming back maybe to new strategies. So it might involve more work, but also it's also connected to the question, why do I want to do it? This is really, really important, because if I'm not connected with clarity to why would I want to do it, just doing it for the sake of doing it, just we would be focused too much on the effort and the energy that it takes. But if I understand that I want to come and see the system more integrated and whole and more stable for the long run, I might be excited about investing that energy into investigating how else can we do this in a way that we're all included, all the voices are heard, and we're trying to meet all needs, at least trying to meet and valuing all needs. We might not be perfect at it. We might need more time to do it really well, but at least we're moving together in that direction.
And someone wrote here about sociocracy, and it's like very similar. Deep democracy in a decision-making, they have a decision-making process. It's very similar to sociocracy, and deep democracy, other than that, has a conflict resolution process that is also that is different from sociocracy, but there are many similarities. So in the decision-making, so this is fun, yeah. There are so many things coming up in the world that have similar ideas and similar goals or similar methodologies. It's very exciting for me to know that. So what we want to do now, it's also bringing our body wisdom, bringing our body into the process. You want to explain and show it?
Yeah, sure. I can do that. Should we use the other camera for that? Yeah.
So Yuri will.
I'm going to turn on the audio
Yuri
here.
will use the other camera.
So you need to just. Can you hear us from here? Yes. Okay. So I'm just going to step away. Sandra, can you help me with if I forget something of the steps? So
first, write down, right? In a.
No, we're gonna move. I'm gonna. Oh, you mean for my polarity? Yeah, sure. Okay. So the first thing, we're gonna give you all the steps of the exercise. I want to explain the exercise while demonstrating it, so we can save time. So the first thing I do, and we will do it together, we'll meditate a little bit and try to connect to a polarity. Could you please mute if you have your mic on? So, no, okay. So, I'm just for the sake of demonstrating, and I'll move through it a little faster. I've already thought of a polarity, and I want to give you 2 lines about it. One of the things that excites me the most in life is learning, studying, writing, reading.
Just 1 second. Do you see Yuri? Everyone see Yuri right now? No, you're not seeing him?
Oh, could you put it on speaker view, and then you probably will see me. Does everybody see me now? Can everybody see me? Oh, Sandra was on, okay.
Yes.
Now
Yes.
it's working.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
cool. Thank you. So 2 lines about the polarity that I'm gonna work with. There's something that I really connect to deeply in my life, which is studying and reading, and I've had a little bit of academic experience, and there's part of me that really wants to continue with that and go on and continue with my studies and deepen my research and do a PhD. And there's another part of me that really doesn't want to do that. And this is really pertaining, it's not just, I don't think anybody studies just anything, but I just want to mention that the studies that I'm interested in are deeply, deeply connected to my path in life.
I think there are people that are not seeing, they're not seeing Yuri yet.
You know why? Because the people need to show his camera. So we were still with the first one. It's because of that. If you change, if you're looking for him, and we choose, we're able to see him. It's because of that.
You can, everyone can choose in the right corner on the top, speaker view. And then
exactly. There's one also for the gallery as well, just to pick at him.
Okay.
As hosts, you can click on his camera on his video and put it on spotlight view, and then it
Spotlight
stays on
video.
him even if somebody else talks.
There it is. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Is this working now? There's just a show of thumbs. Thank you. Okay, good, good. So I'm going to work with this polarity that is like just often alive for me. I'm going to write in 2 pieces of paper, and we'll invite you to use 2 pieces of paper as well. I am going to write do a PhD and don't do. I'm going to work with this polarity. And I'm going to put it on the floor. I'm just going to put it on the floor in a way that they're opposing. So this position is do a PhD, and this position is don't do a PhD. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from one of the sides of the polarity that I'm choosing to work with. And I'm going to start, and this is important. You can all keep yourselves on mute as you are right now, and nobody will hear you within the group. But I invite you to do it as I'm doing, to actually engage your voice and your physiology when you're going to speak during the exercise. So I'm going to start, just 1 second.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to start from the side of do a PhD, and I'm going to say everything to the other side, everything that comes to my mind. Both, it could be all the thoughts, the judgments, sometimes the accusations that come up for me here. And so I want to pause, and I want to say something very quick. This exercise falls within a field of practice in nonviolent communication that I see it as a work of self-empathy, inner work. And there are different ways of doing this kind of inner work, but differently from when I'm communicating with other people, there's something in the process of doing self-empathy that is admitting to myself and spelling out all the judgments that I'm carrying. And sometimes this practice in itself, just that stage, is so relieving to bring out, to make space for everything that lives in my mind, all my thoughts and judgments that might live in me as a kind of a jumble and just a cloud of confusion and tension. Just to name it out, it's something that already kind of brings a little bit of release. And I just want to mention something about this. Within NVC, I noticed that a lot of the structure of the model of NVC is organized around distinctions. And sometimes in these distinctions, because it's an either or in a way, they're not, I don't see them as an either or, but sometimes they can be confused like that. It can also be confused with another either or, which is good and bad. It can kind of becomes a euphemism. So oftentimes I see people thinking of judgments as being wrong or bad. So they're like having a wrongness thinking around judgments. And the only thing that I want to keep from what's behind that is that, well, if I express my judgments to the other person, it might disconnect me from them. It might not help me stay connected. It might make it very difficult for them to hear what's important to me. So that is like a danger maybe, or something that I want to be careful with. But on the other hand, judgments, the thought of rooted in good, bad, right, wrong, is the language that I've been trained in most of my life. So oftentimes, and still after 10 years living, practicing, sharing NVC, I can still notice, like it's still alive in me, that part that accesses that language and that way of that pattern very easily and goes very deep. So sometimes I want to bring out something, like really bring it out. If I bring it out in language, in judgment language to myself, that can be really useful. I can access things that might be more difficult if I'm trying to not be judgmental. And also there's this thing of, if I'm thinking that judgments are bad, I'm not really allowing to come out or to see what is alive in me. And judgments are just life coming through that needs translation to feelings and needs. That's my perspective. That's how I hold it. So even I remember many times among friends, practitioners of NVC, trainers, we've often been in situations where one is so triggered and wants to express something and asks permission to hairball it. Do you know hairball? Have you ever seen a cat expel a hairball? It's a, I'd say maybe a challenging scene to see. It's like really, it comes out really like the ugliness. It's all like bleh. And we do it with each other in a way, okay, I'm just gonna hairball it. I'm gonna put it out there, and then the other person supports with, okay, and I'm gonna translate. The other person translates. So there's sometimes real value in judgments that I want to bring into this exercise, because what the first phase is going to be expressing the judgments and expressing, and I'm not expressing it to another person, but it's an internal work, just that part.
And yeah, Dmitry put here the difference in value judgments versus punitive and separating judgments. This is like an important differentiation in NVC. And here we are not like we are putting out the hairball is exactly the punitive judgments, the moralistic judgments, like everything comes out, like in self-empathy. I'm not saying this to the other person, but I'm just saying it to myself, acknowledging that these voices are here and they are present. And I want to see it so I can go deeper instead of trying to push down, and then I cannot access what is deep down. Right. So
okay, so I'm gonna go back to the exercise.
To put it like
here. Sure. Yeah. Don't do it on that side, but it's difficult. No, nobody will see it. It's so small. No.
Can you see it? No.
Can you? Okay, maybe you can. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the exercise now. I'll do it quickly so you have time to do yours. Do a PhD. So I'll start from here. you take care of the muting, please?
Yeah.
I'm hearing somebody is not muted. Could you please mute if you're not muted? Or Bushra, could you please mute everyone and just accept us, please?
Yes.
Okay. So I just remember how alive I was during the times that I did my studies, and I'm just connecting to how excited and full of energy, and I just enjoyed it so much. I felt like I was really living life, and so I just want to go back to that, and I want to develop the ideas that I have, because it feels like if I'm not doing it within that framework and researching and writing, I'm not really doing it. So like getting myself in the program is really a way for me to investigate what I'm curious about now and bring that experience of life for me. So I just want to do it. And you know, you're just like accommodated, you know, you're like going to that, like not doing this is just accommodation. You're just gonna go through life without ever accomplishing anything significant. And so I finished saying everything that is here in terms of thoughts and judgments, and I put both my hands on my solar plexus and I check in, what are the sensations and feelings? So I noticed there's some shivering in my body and some excitement, and I'm noticing also there's a little bit of anger. Yeah, a little bit of anger. And then I take a breath and I put both hands on my lower belly and I try to connect to what are the needs that are making these feelings and sensations emerge. And I'm noticing I'm deeply connecting to meaning, to freedom, to choice. Yeah. And for now, I'm done here. I don't need to stay in attention that I need to say everything right now. I just say everything that I notice now, and then I go to the other side. And from the other side, I then say everything that is here. So, no, you're crazy. You're crazy. You're almost 50 years old. You're too old to do a PhD. Why didn't you do it when you could do it when you were younger? You're too old now. Now you need to just, you know, work and get yourself together. You know, you remember a short time ago when you were financially unstable, you needed support and there was nobody to support you around you. Nobody. You couldn't count on your family or nobody. You can only count on yourself. And now you want to go out and just be a student? What are you, like, come on. And also, do you really remember what it was like, the pressure of turning in the papers and then the deadline for the dissertation, for the thesis? You want to go through that again? Like that conventional institution, they're not advanced as, you know, your thoughts. They're very traditional. They're not the place that you really want to evolve the kind of thinking that you're looking into. So this is a fantasy. You're just trying to, you know, you're trying to satisfy your own like self-importance or something like that, or to, I don't know, like get some validation or somehow. Can't you get it somehow in another different way? So I take a breath, hands on my chest. I notice there's, again, some shivering in my body, and I notice there's fear and tension also taking over, some anxiety. And then I take another breath, and both hands on the lower belly. And then I connect to what are the needs that are giving rise to these feelings. So I'm noticing I'm wanting ease and security and safety, stability. I'm mostly wanting ease. And then I go again and check what else is there here. So I can continue a little more and say, well, you know, you could actually work as a way of working and studying at the same time. You could continue your work that is meaningful to you and continue to have stability and do your studies in parallel. You don't need to go into like conventional programs. You could do that. And I could I don't need to do it in one certain way. And also, I don't want to live in fear. I want to do things, I don't want to live in fear. And then I go again, a breath, check in with my feelings and sensations. Notice that there's some little bit of hostility, but also some frustration. And another breath, noticing I want real choice. Again, freedom and meaning. And then I go again and check if there's anything else here, and I do repeat the process and I respond. And then there's a point where I go again and check, and I notice, no, there's nothing else. I give it a little bit of silence on this side, and there's like nothing else, so I'm done. And then I check the other side to see if there's anything else, and I'm done. And once I finish this process, I'm going to invite you all to sit down and journal a little bit and try to connect to what hit home. What was an aha moment? What was something that shifted? What was a learning that came out of doing the exercise? So before we move to the exercise, I'm wondering, we're going to, did you put it in the chat?
Yeah, I put it in the chat again, all the steps, and we want to invite you to do it on your own and really invite you to stand up and use your body, the knowledge of your body, and try to feel it in your body, and also speak out loud if you're able to do it in the place you are. It's very, I find it very different when I do it out loud and when I just think about it, and also putting the hands. So we would like to invite you to do that for around 15 minutes, right? 10 minutes?
Then we can check in 10 minutes, and then if people need more 5, we'll wait for another 5. Just to say that speaking out loud doesn't mean you need to shout. You can also mumble that, but just engaging your physiology and your voice really deepens the experience other than just thinking. So thinking is still in a very abstract mode. Once you say it out, it brings it more, it anchors more what you're working with.
And I guess, is there any question? If someone is thanking for the very clear demonstration. So if there's something didn't understand, you can write down, or also we will be here. So we invite you to do it. Right?
And let's count 15 minutes, okay, so people have more spaciousness to do the exercise. In 15 minutes, we're back. Now we're 13 before the hour. 2 minutes after the hour, we're gonna reconvene here.
I have a question.
Yes.
So we just choose any situation we have? anything?
So before, yeah, let's, you know what, thank you for that question. Actually, that reminds me that I wanted to guide a very short meditation so you can connect to something meaningful. So I'd like you to, let's do, it'll take 2 minutes. So I'd like to, or do you want to?
No, you can more clarifying questions. Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to invite you to first find your seat and in a way that you're comfortable and supported. And if you are comfortable with it, please close your eyes. If you'd rather keep your eyes open, I invite you to keep your gaze resting on the floor, on your feet, just to reduce visual stimuli. And I invite you to take a couple of breaths. And just notice your body. Notice the breathing in your body. And I invite you to pay attention to the present moment. Here and now. And how you can expand your attention around the present moment. So it's just this second, or it's this hour, or it's this day. Maybe you want to add a larger stretch, a larger period in your life, this month, this year. And try to be with what is the stretch of time that you're choosing. And within that, try to notice in yourself something that you would like to work with in this exercise. Maybe an internal tension that you're experiencing that you can notice is connected to two things that you don't know how to integrate or care for. Maybe there's something that you're doing in your life, but there's something holding you back, this little thing that's not allowing you to fully move forward. Maybe you want to choose to work with that polarity. Maybe you'd like to give voice to that part. Maybe there's a part of you that would really want to be doing something else in your life right now. Maybe there's a situation in regard to people around you, your society, or just yourself. And trying to name, what is the polarity? What is the either or that is alive in you that you would like to work with in this exercise? And I invite you to slowly come back, taking a few breaths. And then finding a piece of paper, if you can, to keep that clarity for your exercise, and just writing in 1 or 2 words each of the sides and putting them on the ground. And we'll start counting in 2 minutes. We'll start counting the 15 minutes. So it'll be 5 to the hour, and we'll come back 10 after the hour. So you can just write down the polarities now. Maybe you need a couple of more minutes just to make it really clear. And just go into the exercise.
So something came up here. If there's not a strong polarity coming up, if there's not in your life right now, maybe you just want to give voice to something that maybe you're pushing back, or you don't want to hear, or you are not giving much attention to something that is alive for you, but you're not really looking at it, like you're just ignoring it. Maybe something that it might not be a big thing, it might be something small, it's just a discomfort maybe, or maybe it's a physical, something physical. Oh, I have this discomfort in my neck, so okay, let's see what this discomfort has to tell me, and then I just go there and try to feel it. This is also possible. You want to say something else?
Yeah, just also there are different ways of approaching this to actually see the polarity. Sometimes it's not easy to see it as a clear polarity. So it could be just what Sandra said, but also maybe something when I'm experiencing something as tension in my body or as discomfort, or that I'm not saying no to something that I wish I did say no to. There are different ways of finding what is it that I'm dealing with.
Another question, examples of interpersonal issues. Okay.
Just to clarify another question, interpersonal issues. For example, one way I can experience a polarity is I want to talk to that person. I don't want to talk to that person, for example.
Or like a decision that I want to make, but I don't know what to decide.
The polarity could be appearing as a doubt, for example.
Yeah, I'm just reading things on the chat. I'm not speaking to you, but if there are some people that have to leave right now in the top of the hour, and if you could write down on the chat some insights and things that came up, if you want to, and I would love to read. And yeah, and thank you for writing it here, Kim.
Estão postando aqui no grupo sobre a gente.
If you finish, we still have like 5 minutes for people who didn't finish yet. And if you finished, I want to remind you to write down. It's very meaningful. I find it very meaningful to write it down. Many things come up when I'm trying to put on paper, so it might happen to you as well. Like write down the insights, what hit home, the learnings, anything that came up.
Yeah, if something shifted, if you became aware of something new that you didn't notice before. Let's see.
We're just waiting a little bit more for everyone to finish. Maybe if you could raise your hand, your like blue hand, if you have finished. The blue hand is you click in participants, and then there's a hand. You can raise your hand if you ended, and we can see how many people finished.
We still have.
Oh. Asking about deep democracy, so I invite you to check online. There's in Portland the Process Work Institute, created by Arnold Mindell. He's the one who created process-oriented psychology, and deep democracy is part of this knowledge. And there's also deep democracy Lewis method, that was created by some people in South Africa. And it's also, you can look online as well. I wrote it down somewhere, but there are many things online, and there are books and workshops, many things. So
the 15 minutes are up. We'd like to invite you to come back. And if you are still journaling, please continue. Just go on journaling, writing, jotting down what you are sitting with after this exercise, what you noticed about yourself, about the situation. And I would like, Bushra, I'd like to invite everyone to go into small groups to share a little bit. What was this experience like for you? You don't need to share any of the content. Just share what was it like? What did you notice about yourself? Maybe you've learned something about yourself that's new, about the situation. Whatever you would like to share.
And we'll have like
maybe
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
3 or 4 people in each group, if it's possible, and 10 minutes.
Bushra, is it possible to put 3 or 4 people in the groups?
And I invite you
sure.
to do.
Okay, thank you.
It's possible. I'm just doing that right now.
Yes, I can finish.
Yeah, and to go to the breakout room, there will be a small screen will appear in your screen. So you have to click in the button, go to the breakout room. Otherwise, you will stay here. So you have to click. And when you're there, try to share the time and the space, like to everyone's voices can be heard. So I invite you to try to do that. So when the breakout rooms are ready, there will be a small screen that will appear. I'm not sure if it's still, maybe not yet.
Yeah.
Yes? Yeah, okay. So now it should have appeared something.
See you in 10 minutes.
Okay. So people who are still here, maybe you didn't, maybe you want to stay here, or maybe you didn't find the button. Not sure.
You probably received an invitation to go to the small groups. So you can choose to go there. If you prefer to just stay here and wait for 10 minutes, that's also okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just, just for people who are here in the room, people are working in small groups. If you're not aware, or if you dropped out and came in or something like that, people are working in small groups right now, sharing, and they'll be back in about 5 minutes. And we'll be back soon. Just to let people know who are here that people are out sharing in small groups, and we are probably going to be back in about 3 minutes. Hello, welcome back. Welcome back. Now I see Ishal. Hello, good to see you. So many familiar faces, that's so nice. So,
so we'd like to hear a few voices here in our big group. If you have another insight, if you had like something like the golden thing that you got from this exercise and from the small group as well, if you want to share here. Damien from Ecuador already raised his hand. Okay, if you want to,
you can unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to me, this exercise, as I was saying in the group, it's been very, very interesting and enriching for me. I have made some self-empathy to this polarity many, many times before, but that's the first time I was doing like kind of confrontation. And there was lots of judgmental parts that I didn't really see before. There was lots of energy, lots of aliveness, and feeling this aliveness, and then it was easier to connect to my feelings and needs. And then the other part the same. So it was quite of a war at the beginning, and listening to each part, this intention and connect. I did like 3 rounds in every steps, every part, and in the end it was kind of reconciliation and understanding, and also seeing one part of me who has a lot of determination and energy, but put it in a way that's not serving at all the other part. So that was kind of, wow, it's really frustrating. I put so much energy into this and it's not contributing at all. This just the opposite. So this part of me that's really alive and I can feel it now. I want to put this energy in contributing and create and serve life and outside. So, wow, it was big insights. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
with us. It seems there's lots of clarity and you could go deeper doing this than
Yeah.
the other done before. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very exciting.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing, Dani.
Yeah. And eager to carry on.
Okay.
We have
Juan
Juan
Carlos.
Caro from Mexico. Can you unmute?
Thank you. First, when you start this workshop, I say, I know that inner voices, I work with that, blah, 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 blah. I want to leave this workshop, a lot of ego. I say, hey, calm down. I want to try, okay? And was an amazing exercise, really. And I saw that I beat myself very much, and was incredible to see that. And I start to see a lot of compassion with me, and really I really appreciate that. And I'm in the middle of the exercise, but it's wonderful. Really, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad you stayed. You decide the voice that told you to stay was stronger than the one that wanted to leave.
There's another polarity.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just hearing how you really reached a tender point of being more compassionate to yourself, just not being so hard on yourself. Mm.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Now, Tree.
Can you unmute yourself, Tree?
Yes, that's me. My name is Jens, and I'm calling from Belgium. When you guys proposed the exercise, I knew I was sitting outside. My girlfriend is also around enjoying the festival, and I knew I had to immediately. I had to take some time and space in my room to deal with this very strong polarity that is inside of me. That's one time, in one sense, wanting to throw myself in the world and do things and realize all sorts of things. And on the other hand, this part of me that just wants to keep on laying on the bench and forget about everything and just let life pass by. And it was very helpful when I went into the exercise to define these two parts, write it down in a few words, to define them, and then see how the feelings came up and the thoughts came up, and being able to say that as if it was another person. It really helped to make it lighter as well, to be able to speak out what I was thinking without going over and over it in this inner conversation. But just to be able to say it and to be heard, and also very important to try to connect with the needs and the feelings and the needs that are lying underneath it. And I know that there's still some work to be done there, but it was very, it's very freshing up. It's freshing up my system. It's freshening up my what needs to be done in order to get more in balance. Because I think the most important need behind that is not necessarily balance, but I'm forgetting the word for it. Like to maybe balance is the best word to not to go too much into the one, not to be too strict and to be tense into one, but also not to be too loose and to relax, so that it's one step closer to this to the balance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's really reaching here as a touching share. It sounds like very important, deep and important thing you're bringing of how you want to be in this world and how you want to be able both to do incredible things, but also like really not carry too much weight on you, or just really be in the way you would choose and enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can read here that Craig Smith wrote about it was hard to stay it was too short time to stay inside a breakout room. Yeah, and I'm mourning that as well, that like in online it's so hard to see or to check, do you need to stay longer or things like that. So I'm frustrated with this technology. At the same time, I'm very thankful for it, but at the same time, very frustrated that it's not so easy to check with the groups.
If you need more time.
If we need more time or not. So it's a good feedback for us to know that it was too short. Yeah.
And Thais, can you unmute yourself?
Hello, Sandra and Yuri.
Hi.
Nice to see you here. So it's the second time that I do this exercise because I took a course with you both last year. And well, two things were interesting. One, I compare what happened the last time and now. It was a different question, different point that I was treating. But the last year I had two sides, but I noticed that both of them were trying to reach the same needs, but any one of them I would be happy. And now they were pretty much both sides were pretty much wanting to also to reach the same needs, but none of them were working. So I had to find something different that had a little bit of each other. I think it's very different, very interesting. And also it was very good to try to find out about the needs, because one side that I think that I'm very lazy, that I am, mimada, like rotten child. And but then I found out a very deep and valid need on that I want to do things that are meaningful to me, that give me pleasure, and that I feel that there's a purpose. So I could integrate this part. It was, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It seems there were many, like this insight of the voice, discovering something like the meaningful thing, that it's important for you to have to do meaningful things. Yeah. See. So I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm thinking if we could go back to the small rooms, maybe, that
Really?
people who didn't were not able to share could share more over there, or we listen to, because there are 5 people with their hands raised, or we do another exercise that is shorter, that is also connected to.
Yeah,
I don't know, too many possibilities.
There's another exercise that we thought if there's enough time we could bring. It's a very deep exercise, but it's short. People are saying exercise, another, please.
So it would, I think it would be meaningful.
I want to I want before we go to another exercise, I just want to check if anybody that has raised their hands really wanted to say something now. Because if so, I don't want to curtail any voice that wanted to come up right now. So,
and also after the exercise, we have time to hear more, because it's not long.
It's not long, yeah. So I'm just checking. Is it
Claudia from,
Cla-
no.
Anna from Scotland, are you really wanting to speak now, or do you want to give space for the another exercise and then?
I'm happy to give space to the exercise. That's great.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go to another exercise. All right.
So you
I'll guide it from here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is again inner work and also working in a different way with polarities. And it's here we are integrating more approaches with NVC. So I'm not going to say too much about it, but we can. I just want to mention that we're integrating in this exercise an approach called internal family systems. And so you can look it up on YouTube. There's you can look it up, just internal family systems, IFS, and I'm just going to run with this exercise. So this is again inner work. And I just want to mention before we go into it that I find inner work and integrative work like this so important in many different situations and levels.
Oh, there's a request there for me to lead this exercise, wanting more equality. And I want to thank you for asking that. And also I'd like to say that this is something that Yuri created. And so I'm not familiar with the exercise, so I cannot really lead it. So that's why I'm inviting him to do this as well. And I also want to thank you for saying that. Who was that?
Cheryl.
No, Cheryl.
Yeah. Cheryl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I also
want to say that this is something very alive in our relationship and working together. We are together for 20 years and we work together. And this awareness of how to balance our voices and taking space, this is something really alive and something that we try to balance. And it's challenging. Over the years, we're improving a lot.
And it's challenging for both of us. Yeah. For me as a white, cis, hetero male of middle class, dealing with all my own discovering and seeing beyond my privilege blindness has been a journey. And as a man and a woman working together.
Yeah, and also personalities, because I'm very shy. It might not seem, but I'm really struggle speaking in front of people. And for him, it's very easy. There's no problem. So that's that. And we are much more balanced right now than a few years ago.
Well, thank you for just acknowledging that. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
thank you, Cheryl, for bringing that voice and that role into our circle. Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay.
All right. So I was just saying that I find this integrative work very useful on different levels, but I really find it crucial when dealing with systemic issues and social justice issues. And I come from a background of human rights work, and I have to say that it's really challenging to have witnessed, it's been for me to have witnessed how much people are bouncing off of each other's trauma and stress responses, and the difficulty of even the not being integrated internally. And it's much more difficult to be able to listen and express and engage in challenging conversations from that place of internal suffering. So I just wanted to put it out there that for both of us, this has been one of the major values. So I'd like to invite you to find again a position, a comfortable position for you to sit in, find your seat, and support for your body. And we're going to do a short guided inner work. And I'd like to invite you to, if you feel comfortable, to close your eyes. And if you'd rather keep your eyes open, I would invite you then to rest your gaze on the desk or close to your feet in a way that it just reduces the visual stimuli around you. And as we are doing this, I want you to just connect to your body a little bit. Just take a couple of breaths and notice the body and the movement of the breathing. And as we're together looking at the different parts that exist in us, those parts could be those different voices or different parts of us that take responsibility for different functions or elements. Some parts want to protect us, some want to manage, some want to rescue. So I want to invite you to notice that there is a variety, a diversity of parts in each of us, inside you. And I want to invite you to think of a part of you that gets in your way. Think of a part of you that gets in your way and that maybe you're annoyed with, or maybe that sometimes you even hate, or maybe that sometimes you're afraid of. There could be an internal critic, could be a fearful part of you, a doubtful part of you, an angry or aggressive part of you. Just try to locate and focus on it and find it in your body. Where does it live in your body? And it's not absolutely necessary to locate it in your body, so it's okay if you can't. And if you do find it somehow in your body, in a place in your body, it can serve as an anchor point for the exercise. And as you notice that part, also notice, how do you feel towards it? Since you have a relationship with it, how do you feel about it? If indeed you're afraid of it, or you don't like it, or you're frustrated with it, maybe. And I invite you to ask these parts who are afraid or don't like it or are frustrated with this part, ask these other parts to, that feeling these ways, to give us a little space right now, just to get to know this one part you're focusing on. Just see if those parts are, other parts are willing to step back for a little bit and relax, so we can get to know this part you're focusing on and doing the exercise with. We're not going to give the knowing part any more power. We're just going to get to know it a little more. It might have interesting things to tell you. So see if you can find it in you to be mindfully curious about it. And if you can't, that's okay. But if you can't be curious about it, maybe don't proceed with this exercise. I invite you to focus again on that part and see, how does it feel now? How does it feel like you'd be, does it feel like you'd be willing to get to know it now? Can you access it with curiosity? And just let that part know that you are curious to get to know it, and ask, if it would be okay, and see how it reacts. If you really get to that curious place, just ask it what it would be like, what this part would like you to know about itself. Just ask this part what it would like you to know about itself. And just wait for an answer. Don't try to think of an answer, just wait. Wait for an answer that can come from that place in or around your body. And ask that part, what is it afraid would happen if it wouldn't do what it does to you all the time? What is it protecting? What are the needs it's trying to meet? And if you hear a response about what it is protecting, if it's possible for you, extend some compassion to it and show it appreciation. Thank it for its service and see how it reacts to that. And ask it now, if you could heal or change what it protects so it was free from that responsibility, what would it like to do instead inside of you if it was really liberated? What it would like to do instead? And wait for an answer. And lastly, ask it now, how old does it think you are? And if you get a younger age than you are, maybe update it and see how it reacts. Thank this part for letting you know all the details it told you, and start your journey back, taking deep breaths. And as you return, I invite you to journal for a couple of minutes and just write down if there's anything meaningful that you noticed, if there's a learning, an insight, if you had some kind of interesting understanding about yourself and your journey. Mm-hmm. But just to give a minute for you to journal a little bit, and we'll open up to hear some voices.
And if someone wants to write down on the chat as well, you can do that. We are getting to the end of our session.
And as you're taking notes, you can just continue to write. And I'd like to invite whoever would like to share also in the chat what this experience was like for you.
And raise your hand if you want to speak.
Yes, and if you'd like to speak in the group, we might have time for 2 or 3 people maybe. So Evelyn from Belgium, and after that, Claudia from Spain, or Maria Claudia. Evelyn, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I did. I just want to thank you that you clarified during the instruction not to think, but to listen. And I was surprised about what the little child in myself told me. Things that I've never heard before because I didn't listen, I thought. So I'm really thankful for that question. Just listen. It was great. And then all the exercise for me was about my inner part is afraid to not belong to the group. And then when you said me to ask this part of me, I don't remember the next question, but I do remember the answer, and that was that it is afraid that this part of me is rejected by myself. So it was amazing to see that what the child was busy with is still busy in myself, and it's really I was surprised. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It sounds like there was a yeah, I'm just staying with the surprise that you expressed, and about I'm guessing something about this part really just wanting to know they belong, that they are part. Thank you. Claudia, or I'm not sure if it's Maria Claudia.
Yeah, it's Maria Claudia. Colombia, but oh, sorry, but I live in Spain. I just yeah, thank you, Billy, for your conclusion, because told me something about that exercise. But I really wanted to thank you both for 2 things. One is, in the first exercise for me was really powerful to remind me how important it is to involve my voice, my lovely voice, my body, and my harvest in all my decisions, because we spend a lot of time thinking about words, just words. Even if we harvest words, it's just words. It's not something embodying the decision. It's something like, this remind me, like, if you pass your decision and your question and your thoughts through your body, you will get amazing answers, even with your tears, with your feelings, with your constraint, with how important it is to use your body as a tool or instrument to get something related like that. And also I wanted to say thank you, because you're an amazing team and facilitator, carrying all the questions, all the concerned people. And in the virtual space is not easy, and you definitely got it. So I want to recognize and to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm just, yeah, just enjoying hearing your appreciation for the not separating the body from the like this wholeness, idea of a whole experience, and how important it is to listen to things that come through the body, and maybe not through, also through language, but there's something that is left out if the body is not heard. Am I getting you right?
There are many questions here about if we will make it available, the questions of this exercise, and I guess we could put it in the library, right? Because right now it's not very organized.
Oh, this, we could share it in this way. I just followed. This is
Is
what
it
I was
okay?
going to share. Yeah. So I can
Okay,
share
so
it right
Yuri
here
is
in the
sharing
chat.
here, and also we can put it in the library as well.
Is there anything else you wanted to check in the chat
No,
before we hear another?
Susan Kaplan said, amazing work. My generational pain of getting smaller was actually experienced as ancestor arms reaching out towards me to keep me safe and alive. They were all killed in Russia. The question of the energy was to help you remember as so profound. Thank you, Susan, for putting it here. Yeah, there are many things that come up that I realize that come up sometimes in my inner processes that are not only mine, that is intergenerational, and that it's related to other, like not only to my life experiences, but comes something from something else.
I'm not able to copy paste.
Okay,
I don't know why.
so I will try. Now we have Tri and Rebecca. Maybe we hear Rebecca first, that didn't speak yet, and then we go to you. Tri, is it okay?
Hi, thank you. I wanted to sort of ask a question. It seems like a lot of this work has to do with separating, like breaking the one long narrative into its component parts. So that if there's a critical self and a fearful self, that there's all these component parts, and that even with the exercise previous where you're stepping side to side and talking directly to some other part of you, I'm sort of wondering if you can say more about if that is sort of the heart of it. Sorry, if that is sort of the heart of it, where it's like it's easier somehow to let these things out if it's not me that I'm talking to, but the fearful part or the critical part or the, you know, the one that wants to do the PhD versus not the PhD, that the disconnect, the dissociation makes it possible. Because it felt like in both exercises that was the common thread.
Thank you for that question. To answer, I mean, this could go into a really long conversation, and I'm super excited about that. And we don't have the time, but I can tell you that one thing, it's not so much about separating on purpose, but actually just acknowledging separations that exist already there. And that if I'm not acknowledging them, I can just not really capture what each one of them is bringing into that. And it's so interesting to notice it more than how this is seen in one or in a particular approach, is that it's a phenomenon. It's kind of like a pattern in many approaches that try to have a systemic approach, a systemic lens that understands that within a paradigm of complexity, that various elements coexist with tension between them, rather than the either or structure that exists in the binary model. And there's something also I just want to be very clear about it. It's not about saying binary is bad and complexity is good too. Like there's a tendency, I see that all the time. And in our work, we've been very much connecting to kind of like the necessity of the dance between these paradigms, where polarity and binary has their role of making something visible. And complexity is kind of a process, a possibility of integration of these elements. And we've met practicing Aikido. We were both Aikido instructors for a long time. We had several schools, many teachers, and
louder, please.
Oh, so sorry. I'm not close enough. And so in Aikido, there's this concept of kokyu, which is breath, it's breathing. It's the movement that's not only in the body that is represented in movements in Aikido, but also in the universe. It's breathing, it's expanding and contracting. And so it's kind of the idea of the dance of continuously moving. It's polarity and complexity, polarity and complexity. It's not about it being, better or worse. And we did have, I don't know if he's still here, but a good friend is here, David Weinstock, who is offering or has offered already. I don't know if he's left.
I think it's at midnight for us.
Okay.
Like Aikido and NVC work.
He's offering
really
that work in the festival too.
Another thing that for me is important. Can I say something? You finished?
Yeah.
That for me also being aware that I am not my thoughts and I am not my feelings. Those feelings and those thoughts are coming through me, and I'm having them. They are like roles, but they are not me. And so for me, it brings more freedom to be in life. Like I'm not sequestrado.
Hijacked.
I'm not hijacked by them. So it brings freedom. Yeah, and we have 3 now, and I guess our time. And we couldn't put the copy and paste here. I don't know why, but we will try to put it in the library. I don't know what happened. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 3.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for allowing me to have another moment of your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a strong exercise earlier, and I've been with the same part, dealing with the same part again, and something very interesting came up, but also not so clear. This part inside of me, it said that it's trying to protect my genuineness, my genuinity. It's not really a word, but it seems like that by just by extracting myself out of the world and closing myself off, it seems like it's trying to trying to create a space to protect this self core that I tend to lose when I go in contact with the world and being influenced by other people and trying to put my ideas in the world and trying and getting confrontations and stuff like that. So there's also fear inside of it, but yeah, there's also this strong protective. I think it was a very interesting question when you said like, what is this part trying to protect? So I think I need to still dig a little bit deeper in it, but it's becoming more and more clear. I have a way to go about it. Thank you for the second exercise as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. And I'm just hearing the tenderness of the appreciating the protection, like how this wish to protect is touching you. And I'm also wanting to, before we finish up, just wanting to mention that one of the questions that usually when I work with this exercise, that I ask this part, how old it thinks I am. Oftentimes it's it's thinking I'm still a child. And when I relate to it from my adult and more able place that I am in right now, and talk to it from that place, and that it appreciates me too, that it can see me now, there are so interesting shifts that happen, but also mostly what I appreciate is how touched I am by still trying to care for a child in me that is still experiencing the past in the present and hasn't really released that. And so I'm seeing some people nodding their heads, and I'm imagining this is resonating. And so this is, I just wanted to share this. You want to bring it to a close?
Maybe we can. So we have our time.
There's a lot of appreciation here in the chat. I'm so grateful. Yeah.
And I'm grateful. We'll have this. This will be recorded, and we can read more carefully everything, because we couldn't read everything. And yeah, I'm very grateful for all of you, and you stayed here. I know this is very hard to decide where to go. There are many interesting things happening at the same time, and I hope this was meaningful for all of you. For me it was. This last exercise I will tell you later. And yeah, good to know you, and hope to see you soon in the next sessions.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So maybe we can open all the mics and say
unmute all
and say bye in our own language or something.
Gracias.
Thank you. Hasta pronto.
Chao, gracias.
Sandra.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.